would be so kind to look with me in 1 Kings chapter 19. 1 Kings chapter 19. I'm going to raise two verses, and I do thank Reverend Golston for reading the entire text for us earlier in our worship. 1 Kings, the 19th chapter, and I'm going to read verses 9, and then I'm also going to read verse 13. Verse 9, and then again verse 13. And he came thither unto a cave, and lodged there, and behold, the word of the Lord came to him. And he said unto him, What dost thou here, Elisha? And then the 13th verse, And it was so, when Elijah heard it, that he wrapped his face in his mantle, and went out and stood in the entering of the cave, and behold, there came a voice unto him, and said, What dost thou here, Elisha? I want to preach from the subject, What are you doing here? What are you doing here? Throughout the Bible, God has on occasion asked questions of those who are willing to trust in him. For example, in Genesis 3:9, the Lord asked Adam, where was he? In Genesis 4:9, the Lord asked Cain, where was his brother Abel? In Genesis 4:6, God, in speaking to Cain, asked him, Why are you angry and your countenance fallen? In Matthew 19:17, Jesus asked his disciples, Why did they call him good when there is none good but the Father? In Jeremiah 24:3 and Amos 7:8, the Lord asked, What did they see? In Mark 10:51, Jesus asked the blind man, What would you have me to do? In Genesis 3:13, God asked the woman, What would you have done? In Exodus 4:2, the Lord asked Moses what was in his hand. And now in 1 Kings chapter 19, verses 9, God asked Elijah, What are you doing here? It's important to understand when God asks these kinds of questions, God is not asking them because he doesn't already know the answer. Because we must remember God is an omniscient God and God is an all-knowing God. God knows everything, and so therefore God need not ask us questions in order to get the answer. God knows our end even before our beginning. He knew us even before we came into the world. And so whenever God asks these questions, God is not seeking information, because God has all of the information you and I could ever hope for. Because what God is really seeking is he's not seeking information, but he is seeking enlightenment. What God is seeking is that he is seeking to learn more from us, not because he doesn't already know, but rather he wants us to experience something in him that we cannot know apart from dealing with the question. In other words, what God is doing for us and to us when he raises the question is he's giving us a chance to express ourselves. He's giving us the opportunity to be real and sincere with him. He's giving us a chance to open up our hearts and be truthful with him and share with him whatever's in our hearts and whatever might be in our minds. When God raises these questions, what God has given all of us the chance to do is express what we are really feeling. Because there are times where we are not honest with God as we should be. And so what God does for us on occasion is he puts these questions out there in the hope that we might be open and honest and candid with him in terms of how we are feeling. It is not that God doesn't already know, but he wants you to hear it. He wants you and me to be able to hear what we are really feeling by the words we speak. And so whenever God raises questions, what God is doing for us is he is giving us an opportunity whereby we might be able to express ourselves. But then also when God raises a question, what God is doing is God is engaging us in a process of examination. He's letting us get a chance to examine ourselves. Not so much to examine the next person, but he's given us the opportunity to examine ourselves. And so this morning, what this question in the text raises for us is a question about examination. Why are we here? Are we here to lift up the name of God, or are we here for some other purpose? Are we here that God might be glorified and magnified, or are we here for some other agenda? The real reason that God raises the question is for self-examination. Because if we would judge ourselves, we would not be judged of the Lord. And so what God does for us is on occasion He raises questions so we might be engaged in examination. God also raises questions for us and to us so that we might be encouraged along the way. He wants to encourage our hearts. He wants us to get to the point where we no longer look at ourselves, but we're able to look at Him. That we're able to have complete trust and confidence in the power and the ability of God. That is why Jesus Christ said to that man who laid at the pool for 33 years, Jesus said to him, "Do you want to be whole?" Jesus already knew that the man wanted to be whole, but Jesus raised the question because Jesus wanted to encourage the man. Wanted to get him to the point where he stops looking at himself, but he might be able to look closer at Jesus Christ. And so there are times in life where God raises questions with us, and He raises questions simply so He might encourage us along the way. Here in this text this morning, we find God is now raising a question with the prophet Elijah. It is a simple question, but it is a profound question. Let me repeat the question again, which God raises with him. Because God raises the question with Elijah not once, but twice. Twice in this 19th chapter of 1 Kings, God raises the same question with the prophet Elijah. In verse number 9, he says, "What are you doing